Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome to the Raz. I'm Adam.
I'm Ryan.
So, we've been giving you guys bits and pieces of our personal story, uh, just to give you a sense of our own background when it comes to addiction. Today, we're going to be diving into the impact on relationships, romantic, family, friendships, all of the above. Um, Obviously, it's a very, very serious topic. Um,
Very.
I know for me personally, I know by my many, many relapses, I have had very negative impact on my friends and loved ones. I know that I've pissed many relationships away due to my drinking.
How many would you say?
God,
All of them up till now, maybe?
really, since the binges started in 2015, I would say probably at least 4, 5. God only knows if they would have worked out, but I know that I was certainly not emotionally available. I was just really in the thick of it. I was drinking heavily in my depression over the death of my mom and so forth. So just a really bad time. I mean, I tried to get back on the horse and tried to date and tried to socialize and try to have some semblance of a normal social life, but that just seemed impossible. It was always derailed by the relapses and the drinking. One thing I really, really regret is fucking a lot of things up with employers. Because I mean, God, I've lost probably 6 or 7 jobs due to my drinking. So there's a lot of shame that comes with it. It's like, fuck, I let employers down, I let people down, let family down. Let me ask you, because I know your situation is completely different than mine. I know you face a lot of toxic criticism, we'll call it. But I mean, how have you dealt with like family criticism, friends criticism? 'Cause as you mentioned in the prior segment, I mean, we tend to make non-believers doubters, out of friends and family. So I mean, has it been difficult for you, like with family? I mean, or is it just something that you have to brush off and keep going?
Well, in the in the beginning, my family would, especially my mom, would give me a lot of criticism towards the drinking, and then my uncle, which is my mom's brother, he's a recovering alcoholic, and he has like almost 30 years of sobriety.
Good for him.
And my mother, like only recently, just doesn't say anything about it anymore.
Do you feel like she's given up? Is it like that type of a vibe, or is it more just like
Maybe.
it's too painful to discuss?
That could be it, but maybe she just knows that I don't want to hear it.
Right.
I don't think anybody does when you have a relapse, because you mess up, and last thing you wake up the next day full of remorse, and the last thing you want to hear is somebody beating you up for it when you're already going to beat yourself up over it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where things are at now, which is nice. But if it wasn't for my family kind of hounding on me, and it's to a point where, like, if I feel really guilty about doing it,
Yeah.
then I probably would be drinking a lot more, because I wouldn't have that guilt that's kind of been brought on by them. So it's not necessarily constructive, but it has kind of put up a mental block so that I don't
So it's almost like
just so I'm not completely out of control.
right. So you mentioned a really important topic, guilt, which I can say played a major role in, my last relationship, romantic relationship. Not just between me and the girl, but between me and her family, in particular her mom. We had just gotten to a point where we had really developed a toxic relationship. I mean, it was just straight up hateful. We had some really, really hateful text exchanges, and she had quite a mouthful for me at a certain point. She was kind of, although I don't really remember her being supportive to begin with. Maybe in the very, very beginning, but after the first few relapses after my mom died, it was like she got to a point where she was closed off emotionally, and I think that was in part due to her personal experiences. Like she's had, she's been fucked over, she's been married, she's been divorced, this, that, and the other. So she kind of has a bias toward the opposite sex, I would say. But it had really gotten to be a negative, dark thing between us, which I know caused rifts between, me and my now ex-girlfriend, and there was just a lot of tension, and her mom filling her head with all these ideas that I'm just the alcoholic, parasitic, asshole, son of a bitch boyfriend, this, that, the other. And she would compare me. That would piss me off to no end. She would compare me to her ex-husband and say, oh, you're just like Ron, or you're just like whoever. And I know that would just piss me off to no end. But,
Right. Yeah, I think that, to some degree, we have to kind of block people out like that in our recovery because, there's certain people that can be toxic to our sobriety.
mm-hmm.
And, be wary of that and just avoid those people at all costs, no matter who they are, if they're, close friends or even family members. I think it's good to kind of take that negativity, because being an addict obviously comes with that stigma that we speak of. So
Mm-hmm. One thing that pissed me off to no end, and I just want to throw this out there, and I don't know if you experienced this, but how everyone around me, once they were aware of the drinking, suddenly just became a fucking expert on the topic of addiction. I won't say everyone, but it just seemed like it was overwhelming. You have all this advice being thrown at you. Oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, and lots of sort of finger pointing and this and that. And I know for me, that stuff didn't fucking help at all. I mean, in fact, that was counterproductive. That made me defensive, and I'm the type of person where if you back me up into a corner and make me feel like smothered, like, either fight or flight type of response, I'm just going to resist you, And I think that now that I've been through so much of it, there's also an element of like, well, who are you? You know what I mean? You haven't been what I've been through. You haven't been through the hospitals. And
are these people that aren't alcoholics, or are they people?
These are people, I mean, to my knowledge, that don't have drinking problems per se, but who knows? I mean, addiction or even psychiatric issues, I think, can play a role. I think even someone who is malicious, looking to kind of one up somebody and make them feel like shit, can play a role. So to answer your question, it's hard to say yes or no, but the fact is I found the whole thing to be really counterproductive. And I'm the type of person, like, unless you have credibility to speak intelligently on the topic, then I just don't want to fucking hear it from you. It's not that I can't take advice or constructive criticism or whatever, but it was more like it's really all in how you come at me, basically, and very rarely, only on one or two occasions, can I really remember anyone sort of in my circle coming up to me and being like, how can I get involved and be an emotional support for you? Can I come along with you to a meeting, or simply just what is it that I can do that can be of help to you? And I think looking back now, that was probably one of the most hurtful things, because I certainly got a lot of, well, why the fuck can't you quit? Why can't you do this? Get it together. You're this,
Right.
you're that, you're a son of a bitch. But very rarely can I ever remember like someone approaching it from that angle. Like, what are you going through, dude? Like, why don't let's get together and talk, like how's therapy going? How's this going?
Yeah.
How are the meetings coming along? Are you in a dark place? Are you getting by okay? Just general questions about your well-being that were never really brought up. I found to be kind of a challenge in my own recovery, was like that lack of support, that lack of like, because you need people in your corner, man. You need people rooting for you. You need like mad support from whoever it is, from family, from friends, loved ones. And I just think that it's just a tragedy when you don't have that. I think, you know, for me, a lot of it's just been trial and error, and that's been one of the shittiest, loneliest journeys I've had to make. Is just like, oh God, like, how can I make this work, or how can I stay sober this time? How can I make it different? You know, because I'm always trying to find deeper meaning, and I think that's another challenge I've faced is in recovery is like just someone telling me to stay sober isn't good enough. I'm always overthinking it. It's always like, well, that's not enough. I need to find deeper meaning in this somehow, because I'm always just thinking sort of philosophically, I guess.
Yeah.
And me, like I just always, I need more than just stay sober. Well, why? Is there purpose behind it? Is there, now there is, I mean, if nothing else for health reasons, but it's more like, can I recognize patterns in my own behavior? Can I understand when I'm in that dark headspace? Can I understand, certain aspects of my psyche? Can I deal with my depression? So that's been a challenge for me. I mean, I don't know if it's the same for you, but that's been probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest challenge I faced. Is just it's a lonely fucking road to go,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess kind of going back to the topic of relationships, it's affected, mine tremendously. Friendships, family. I've been blacked out drunk and like that guy that just
with the phone and the text and
and just acting a fool really. But I've also lost jobs from it, being too hungover to go into work has occurred multiple times. I need to not do that. It's bad. Like losing jobs and opportunities because the drinking is a priority. I mean, it certainly was when I was younger. I had a preoccupation with alcohol and would find any reason to go out party and drink. As a matter of fact, my whole life surrounded around trying to find the next party from day to day.
Yeah.
And then I'd go on like 4-day binges and then be sicker than a dog. But it's also affected, relationship with women. I would say all my relationships have been affected by it. And it's been touched by it in one form or another. So
Yeah.
I need to not do that also.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad. It affects a lot of things. And, looking back on it, I wasn't aware that it was my drinking that was causing a lot of problems in my relationships. It took me years of figuring it out and looking back and going, damn, I caused a lot of chaos.
Yeah.
I caused a lot of girls a lot of heartache from the drinking episodes that would occur in my relationships with them. And hell, I could even say that's probably why, the biggest reason why I'm still single.
Yeah.
It's like if I'm gonna drink, even if somebody could deal with it, eventually they kind of get sick of it. And when it comes to like friendships and stuff, it's even affected my friendships. You know, because I'll have arguments or fights with my friends while drinking, and it's just not good, man. I mean, I've been there.
Yeah.
For sure. It affects, I want to say anybody who drinks heavily, it affects them in their relationships in some form or another.
Mm-hmm. You know, and I think the sad thing is, if I look back, I can see that a lot of my relationships were actually based on drinking, were based on partying, particularly with girls. I mean, even in my early 20s, mid 20s, a lot of the shit was just based on like, okay, like you said, finding the next party, you know.
Where the party at?
And
where the party at?
became kind of a thing of like social lubrication, a way to find comfort and a way to find confidence. And when I really wasn't feeling confident, I think, you know, I've struggled with depression, anxiety, social anxiety, panic attacks for most of my life. Although I hid it very well, it was still debilitating. You know, it was debilitating to go into department meetings or job interviews or whatever the situation was, even social situations with girls. Even within relationships, I found it to be difficult and challenging to be like close with someone. I mean, just crazy, like, you know, intimacy issues. Like, I just couldn't, like, get it together. I didn't feel comfortable being close to someone, being touched, being affectionate. And even now I still struggle with that. But, suppose that's another issue. But,
I struggle with it too, but in a different way.
yeah, I mean, lots of the relationships were based on drinking. And then, like I said, I mean, I've pissed away some good girls, man. I mean, not to say that, you know, everyone doesn't have their faults, but, you know, I know that I too caused a lot of heartache, a lot of chaos, a lot of, said a lot of hurtful, mean shit. And,
yeah, I've said so much.
I've put my foot in my mouth
mean
so
stuff.
many fucking times that it's, and I too have been that guy that has woken up and it's like, you know, after a binge, when I kind of finally come around and come to, whether it's at home or, you know, more serious, like if it's in the hospital, I'll finally kind of have that moment of clarity when I look at my phone and I'm like, oh my God.
I can't even look at it anymore.
You know, it's shameful, it's embarrassing. And not only just with friends, but I've, you know, I feel incredibly bad that it's had an impact on my professional life as well too. I mean, my background is in finance and accounting, and I've had some really good jobs, working for really good companies and good people, and have pissed it away. You know, I've pissed away a lot of opportunities, and I think that's another regret too, is just, you know, God, like I had it made. What more did I want? You know, I was such and such age, making good money. Like I didn't really, you know, I was traveling, I was doing this and that. And then all of a sudden, I didn't have those things. So
You'll have them again, man.
it's always difficult to look back on decisions and be like, fuck, like coulda, woulda, shoulda, you know? Like, God, where would I be now had this not happened? Where would I be, you know, if I didn't fuck this person over or that company over or whatever
I thought
it
you were
is.
about to say, fuck this person. It's like, whoa there.
Well, that's another topic too. I've actually made poor relationship decisions because of alcohol. There's been, um, your sleazy drunk hookups. There's been, conflict caused because you're quick on the trigger when you're drinking with, text or whatever. I have really seriously fucked some people over, and I feel terrible about it. But
You got to make amends with all of them.
well, maybe the way to make amends for now is just to, this is therapeutic for me, and I know it is for you. So, a big reason why we're doing it is just to chat it out. And
So if there's anybody out there who's listening that I have hurt, I apologize. Look, there's that pop filter thing. It was a... God damn it.
No, that's good, man. I think for me, it's going to be a little while. I think, first and foremost, you got to take care of yourself, man. So I think just getting some clarity and some peace of mind for myself is kind of first on the priority list. But the relationship thing, I mean, I know I have, even women aside, I've hurt family. I've kept people in the dark.
I used to steal change and stuff out of my brother's.
Oh God, dude.
My brother's coin jar or whatever.
I have no shame. Jesus, I've pawned countless DVDs. I've pawned 3 or 4 flat screen TVs. I've pawned my phone before. I have stolen money. I have, taken money that wasn't mine. I've scrounged for change.
One time my uncle gave me his credit card, and it was a debit card, but I was like, do you want cash back? And I was like, cha-ching.
Yeah.
And I got $20 out, and then I went and bought booze with it. No shame.
Yeah.
I've even, not working and just drinking. Because you can't do both. You can't work and drink. It's one or the other, man.
Yeah.
But when I didn't have any money, so I would just go hang out in front of the grocery store and ask people for change and Panhandle, yep. I'd panhandle
I've
people
thought
for
about
booze.
that before too, because I've been in some really tight spots. But I always
Just go up to people hey, you got $1
I always managed
for the bus?
And it was a terrible thing too. Not that it's any better, but I used to do anything at any cost, which basically included manipulation, guilt trips.
Come on, you remember that $20 I gave you?
Taking money.
Just buy me a bottle.
Or, overdrawing my checking account to no end till it literally they would deny the transactions.
Are you saying my money's no good here?
I've been in withdrawal before and been in such bad shape that the liquor store clerk, notices and just gives me enough to kind of just get the fuck out of the store, take it and just go type of a thing.
I've been kicked out of a lot of bars too for being too trashed. That's a whole other story too.
Yeah, we'll get into that, but I think the most important thing for us to do to make amends is just to make amends with ourselves first. Before we make it a crusade to go off and apologize to everybody else. But for what it's worth,
I actually was just saying that because of that's part of the 12 steps. I was just making a comment. I wasn't actually being serious.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're supposed to do. Because it's supposed to, the therapeutic side of that and within part of the 12 steps is making amends with people who you've harmed or in my case pissed off.
Yeah.
But I mean that's a whole other topic as well. I think recognizing the chaos and damage that we've caused in our own lives, with
Mhm.
family, friends, and all that. So our relationships with others, or lack thereof. See, that's another thing. I think, like my drinking used to be a social thing, and it would really be like an excuse to socialize because I would socialize so much better. But nowadays, I just drink. I isolate when I drink,
Mhm. Same
and
here.
I don't really. Yeah, you go MIA. Can't get a hold of you, or
Yeah.
you know.
Well, my friends know that if there's ever a time when I just completely fall off the map, they need to be concerned. Uh,
Yeah, I usually know. I'm like, oh,
Social
he's on one.
media, or if I'm completely unresponsive. I just go into a really really dark place where I feel kind of like it's just almost autopilot. It's just like I'm freewheeling. I'm completely out of control and somehow okay with that. It's like, you know, I just don't want to feel anything because, my mentality at that point is like the pain of living is just too much. Like the pain of like day to day, you know,
The day to day grind.
is just too much, you know.
Yeah, life's hard, man, for
So
sure.
it almost becomes a thing of like, well, fuck it.
And alcoholics are sensitive people, for sure. Like I've been working on that actually, trying to build up my self esteem and be a little bit more thick skinned as opposed to
Quick on the trigger.
quick on the trigger. I practice that all the time. I mean, because it's something that I'm really reactive usually.
Mm.
So it takes work though. I always say recovery is something that manifests over time. So you learn the tools within the programs, like the meetings, and you take those tools. Well, you take what you like out of it, and you leave the rest,
Mhm.
and you take what works and use it, and over time it becomes permanent and like second nature.
Muscle memory.
Yeah, because like I would say now it's a lot easier. I'm not as I don't have the compulsion to drink as much as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because I understand that I can't handle it,
Mm-hmm.
and no matter how many times I test that, it's always the same result. So, like the other day, I was thinking I was like really considering getting a 6-pack. Because I walked right by the liquor store and I was just like, yeah, it'd be great if I could. I already know what will happen. I'll get the 6-pack, go home. As soon as I'm done with the 6-pack, I'll leave right back for the liquor store.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just can't do it safely. And when I do relapse, I always notice that it's because I'll focus on the positive side of it and not
Well, like we
really
were saying,
think it through.
we romanticize it.
Yeah,
Like it's gonna be,
romanticize.
like it's get, like it's gonna be the way it was when I was 21, 22, and it was all smiles and giggles and fun and
like, hey,
hooking up and this and that.
hey, baby, you, me, we're gonna cuddle tonight. And you're like, you got the bottle in your hand, and you're like laying down, and you're gonna drink enough to where you could just pass out, go to sleep,
Yeah.
comatose.
One thing did happen to me recently, and I know this is kind of getting into another topic that we'll have to do another segment on, but just real briefly, when I got out of detox for the last time, and this was like 2 days afterwards, I really wasn't withdrawing anymore, but I just felt like that depression, after the your body goes
After
through
your
some sort of
debacle.
cleansing process, and
The night of debauchery.
I was feeling pretty shitty. I was depressed and just like kind of anxious, and I was like, fuck man, just a couple, you know what I mean? And this is literally like 3 days after I got out of detox, and I was just feeling awful, just feeling like shit, just feeling down, just not wanting to feel.
Were you
And,
like a couple is gonna make me feel better?
Yeah.
Was that,
Yeah, it was
Like, ah,
kind of that old traditional mentality where I can rationalize it and just
insanity, bro.
turn a blind eye.
It's just
And,
insanity.
So what ended up happening was I genuinely considered it. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sneak out of here. I'm going to go across the street, go to the store, walk around 16th Street, kind of do my thing, catch my buzz, and then come back. But I ended up reaching out to this person really for the first time. I was like,
Like a friend, or is it a friend of like
so
friend of recovery?
it's someone special. I mean, we're not together, but we're dating. I mean, it's certainly going in that direction. But I was talking to her, and I was just like, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm having some pretty fucking dark thoughts. I feel like shit, and I just want to drink. I'm not gonna lie to you. I want to fucking drink. And she was like, it was incredible. Like, I expecting to be judged, expecting to be like, dude, you're a fucking idiot. You just gotta. What do you think? Like, what are you thinking? Type of thing. Because that's, I guess, what I got in the past.
Right.
But
looking for that same reaction.
Right. But it was totally opposite. It was like, well, why don't we just take a walk? Why don't we go get some coffee? And we did. Like, we literally went out and got a bunch of junk food. And just talked, and it ended up being like an amazing night, and I didn't end up drinking. And,
so you had like a craving. It started with like a craving.
I had a really intense craving,
and then after a while, it went away.
Well, what ended up happening was, instead of internalizing it and isolating and drinking, I reached out. I was like, okay, well,
so it worked.
I'm gonna do this at the complete risk of being judged, I'm just gonna put it out there, because I was feeling like shit. I know I was acting like an asshole. I was quiet and just in my pissy mood. And
be grateful, man. That's a miracle.
So I was just like, I just want to fucking drink. Like, I just want to do it. And
fuck, that's amazing.
She didn't even tell me not to, really. You know what I mean? Like, it was more like, well, why don't we? Let's just talk about it. Let's why don't we take a walk? Let's go get some fucking cookies and this and that. And it actually ended up being a fucking awesome night. So that was incredible, really. So I know that's another topic, whole of the segment we'll do on support and reaching out and whatnot. But that's kind of my little ray of hope, I guess, for this particular segment, my little pot of gold at the rainbow. Like, of course we all have cravings. Of course there's dark moments. Of course there's fuck it moments, but it's what you do with those. Because we all have them. Lord knows we all have them.
Yeah, I have one right now.
But, well, we'll take a walk after this. We'll get some coffee.
At the liquor store.
But
you know what? I heard they have coffee at the liquor store.
Oh, God, they have
coffee. It's called Kahlua.
They have now caffeinated. Have you heard of these caffeinated beverages now with, I guess, well, they've been around for a while, but caffeinated beverages with booze in them. And I guess people are...
Four Loko?
Yeah, Four Loko, and they have a few others that are caffeinated. Like, they're energy drinks with booze, basically. And people are, like, literally having heart attacks and shit. Like, having, like, palpitations and, like, strokes. And naturally, because you have an upper and a downer just competing for control of your nervous system. And what else do you expect?
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, I don't know. I've been drunk and done coke before, so.
Oh yeah, I've been drunk.
I don't know if caffeine.
Fuck, I've been drunk and popped pills before, so.
So caffeine and they probably just, I don't know. It sounds like BS. I know they had some ones that they took off the market. Supposedly for that reason, but if you think about it, like, I was just thinking about it as you're saying it, I'm like, having a heart attack, what? I've done, like,
I've drank
cocaine and alcohol together before.
I've had like, what do they call them, those Red Bull Red Bombs, or Tuaca bombs or Jaeger bombs. Yeah, with the Jaeger and the Red Bull.
Oh yeah,
I've
yeah,
been
yeah.
really
Red
fucked
Bull.
up off those, but
God,
even I had like kind of some. I felt like heart flutters
there
going
was a
on.
time when I like would drink Red Bull, and every time I'd just smell it, as soon as I'd like crack it open, you know, you get that smell. I would instantly think Jaeger bombs, and I would just be like, oh,
Vomit.
yeah, I can't. I can't drink Gatorade.
Really?
Yeah, every time I drink Gatorade, I think I'm chasing vodka.
Oof.
So it like when I drink Gatorade, it makes me sick to my stomach, and I would use it for a chaser, right? So it's
Yeah.
like why would you know? But I don't know. Every time I drink it, it's just like ugh. I get that.
I get kind of the same way with like cheap beer, like PBR or like not like high gravity beer, but like cheap ass like
Oldie.
Keystone and like Ice House,
Malt liquor.
that kind of shit. Like the smell and the taste, like you can just literally like taste the bubbles in the back of your throat. It just makes me fucking sick. But anyway,
Ever had a sidewalk slam? It's like a Mickey's. You drink half of it and then you fill the rest up with Sparks energy drink.
God.
Sparks.
I haven't seen Sparks
I think
in
they
ages.
took those off the market. Those are the ones they got.
Those
rid
had
of.
booze in them, right?
Yeah,
Didn't they
had
have like
booze.
5%, 6%, something like that?
It was booze and energy drink.
But anyway.
maybe that's the one that was like supposedly causing heart attacks. I don't know.
Could
Remember
be.
Spiked? That shit was fucking.
Evil.
Have you ever tried it? Did you ever try it?
I just did the Sparks. I didn't do Spiked.
Yeah, Spark. Or no, not Sparked. Spiked. It wasn't alcoholic beverage, but it was just an energy drink, and it came in the size of like the smaller Red Bull. I remember I was hungover at work one time, and somebody was like, "You just need some energy drink. Here, you drink half, I'll drink half." I was like, "Half? That's like whatever, you know." I drank half, and I was on the floor for like a half hour, just sick as fuck because I think they got rid of that too. Spiked. It was like, it was so hardcore. I don't remember, but I don't know. I don't want to keep talking about that, but I thought maybe if they had tried that, dude, that stuff's scary. Scary stuff.
That is scary.
Like energy drink wise, I've never ever, but Sparks, I wish they'd bring that back.
God.
Even though I wouldn't drink it.
That's all we need.
Yeah, no. Even though I wouldn't drink it, they should bring that back.
But anyway, folks, relationships. We're going to do a whole other segment on familial support and how you can get involved to be an emotional support for friend or loved one who is suffering with addiction. Many topics under this particular topic of addiction to come. So we're going to be covering many things. That's just a little bit more of our personal stories. We want to thank you for being with us. Thanks for the support. We now have a Facebook, so check us out there. The Raz on Facebook, two words. Check us out there. Show us support. Give us a like. Connect with us on SoundCloud. And eventually, we're going to have live interviews on here, so we'll be maybe even reaching out to you all for ideas. I think we've already got a few in the works for some vets to maybe come on that have been sober, and maybe some other people who chair meetings and so forth. Those are discussions we need to have. But
yeah, when we say vets, we're talking about sober people. So sober vets, like veterans, people that have been sober for like 20 plus years or something.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But also, we're going to definitely have a lot of interesting people on here, people who chair meetings and so forth, and other people that have some knowledge on the topic. So anyway, thank you for being with us. This is The Raz. I am Adam.
I'm Ryan.
Shouts. We'll see you later.
Later.